Hello and welcome. Welcome to another episode of the AI with Arun show. My name is Arun and your host for the AI with Arun show. So today's episode, I'm very excited to introduce our guest, Laxmish Bhat, who is the founder and president of iZen.AI. This is a pioneering company in workforce development and education technology, EdTech. With about 25 years of experience in high-tech product R&D and business development, Laxmish is passionate about leveraging technology to bridge the skill gap and empower individuals through education. His impressive background includes roles as an angel investor and leadership position at major firms like Wipro and HCL. Join us as we delve into his insights on the future of EdTech and the importance of upskilling in today's digital landscape. Laxmish, a very warm welcome to our show.
Thanks for the introduction, Arun. Thanks for having me on your show.
That's great. Laxmish, we'll dive in. So Laxmish, you have had a corporate background. You have worked in very big companies. What inspired you to leave those companies and start your new career as a founder for Eizen?
Well, I think I always had the desire to pursue entrepreneurship at some level, and it grew gradually as I was living in the Silicon Valley. I suppose it's in the air, as they say, right? And specifically about education as the domain, I grew up in a family of educators. My father, my sister, cousins, they are all teachers. And, there is this deep appreciation for the importance of education when you live in such a family. And in general, in the Indian middle class setup, that is the most important thing. And also later on, I realized that that's one of the best ways you can make a difference as well, So at Wipro also, I was having several customer conversations around AI, emerging tech, and in that process, that kind of sparked the idea about how these technologies could be used, or basically education and these technologies could be combined. Sort of, the kind of the mental dialogue I had at the time was, how can I provide education in emerging technology and leverage emerging tech in education? Kind of, it goes both ways, right? So it kind of became clear in 2018 that I wanted to create something meaningful in EdTech. And that's when I decided to take the leap.
Well, that's wonderful, Laxmish. I'm so glad, that those things perfectly aligned for you. So Laxmish, talk to viewers about, what does Eizen do?
Well, Eizen is a education technology company and primarily focused on workforce development. And we offer two sets of, offerings basically. One is the education platform, other one is the content. So the education platform, we have two parts to it. One is a cloud-based platform, which goes with an ecosystem of tools like cyber labs and AI experience center, virtual programming lab, etc. Basically to help our learners learn by doing. So, and then along the way, we came up with an inclusive innovation, which got a few awards. Realizing that over half of the world's population doesn't have internet connectivity and access to computers. So we came up with a device which can operate completely off-grid and offer all the things that we deliver over the cloud. So we can go back and forth, meaning you can start learning on the cloud and then go off-grid and basically continue from where you left off and things like that. You can go back and forth. They're completely in sync. So primarily what it lets you do is, if you are missing out on the benefits of digital learning because of lack of connectivity or lack of access to computer, so basically you can learn on any device or even hook it up to a TV, and that becomes your learning center. So it's a combination of both. If people don't have constraints, they can just learn on the internet as always. And then if they have some constraints, maybe occasionally, whether you're a field worker or in restricted environments like power grids or prisons, or deployed in the field as a, army, basically military personnel. So all those people can leverage this off-grid functionality. And of course, on top of this, we developed our own content, primarily focused on emerging tech areas like cybersecurity, AI, ML, data science, etc. And then we also brought in some third-party content providers, and we developed custom content for customer-specific needs as well. So that kind of, in a nutshell, is what we do.
Yeah, Lakshmi, that's a brilliant way because I like the way you articulated both online and offline version because you're right. A lot of people still don't have, for whatever the situation might be, like the army personnel you mentioned, or even emerging countries, they may not have access to an internet, and having an offline way of learning, it's a great way. And Lakshmi, you mentioned something interesting that people have a dual mechanism, meaning if I'm learning something offline and then I come back online, and so does this data sort of synchronize itself?
Yes. So there is um, content, which is the learner or the subject matter, and then there is also user data. So both of them are synchronized between online and off-grid modes. Um, you just have to, for example, in some cases, you think of a rural setup. At school, they might have internet. At home, they may not, right? So just before going home, you can just, hit the sync button, and then you can just continue from where you left off once you're at home. Or maybe you are a field worker, right? When you're in the field, see, education and learning is a very broad area, right? So you can use it for 100 different things. It's not just about, it could be regular curriculum, it could be job-oriented skills, or it could be simply like a reference manual. If you are operating, in fact, we have some relevant case studies that we have discussed with the armed forces, right? Because they have probably the most versatile technology landscape that you can think of. And you need to have multi-capable warfighters or personnel. I mean, you have to, basically, you need to have an enabler for just-in-time learning when and where needed on any device that you have. So it may sound simple, but it makes a lot of difference because people have so many different contexts under which they may have to refer to material or learn new things, or just as a, we have some off time and you want to pick up and continue your education, just for a long-term, pursuit of your goal or whatever it is. So there are so many different flavors and reasons why people want to learn and how they want to learn, and we want to cater to those situations.
That's wonderful, Lakshmi. So running with that example that you gave, so let's say if I'm an army personnel in a remote area, and when I'm at the head office, I do have access to the internet. So I learned something about, let's say, about ethical AI or any topic for that matter. And then I sync it, and then I'm back offline, and the only device I have is my mobile device,
Yeah.
right? So is it possible for me to hook up your device to my phone and then continue the learning in an offline mode?
Yes. In fact, I have one of the devices right here. So, I can hold it in the palm of my hand. And the other thing is, you don't need infrastructure power to power it up. You can just use a battery pack to power it up as well, right? So what that means is you can just have it in your backpack, powered by a battery pack, and then wirelessly connect to that using your cell phone. And you open up your browser, and typically you would connect to whatever HTTP, cloud.izen.ai, right? So instead, you would just connect to the local host, which is, you're connected to this wirelessly. You'll just say box.izen.ai, just as an example, right? So the user experience doesn't change. The way you connect, instead of connecting to an internet router, you're connecting to this box. The box is not on the internet, by the way. Everything you need would be there on the box because it's a pre-planned learning, right? It's not like going out on the open internet. So that restriction is there because you are not connected to the internet. But you can have the exact same user experience in terms of the interfaces. I mean, it's the same learning platform. Instead of on the cloud, you have available here. That's what it is.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. And Lakshmi, who are the buyers or users of these? Are these corporate institutions or are these also individuals?
Yeah, so the platform is content agnostic, and it can be used by anybody and everybody. But we are a small company, we are a startup, and that's why we had to define some roadmap and some sort of prioritization in terms of our target segments. So currently we are focusing on government organizations and also, the rural schools and rural small businesses. And the next step would be to kind of expand that from there to restricted environments like prisons, because they have the connectivity, but by design, they don't want to connect. It could be power grid kind of situation, or they don't want to connect to, they don't want to have Wi-Fi signals flying around, and by choice they don't want to connect to internet. So those kind of situations apply to this particular device as well.
So that's those are great use cases, especially in the restricted areas, right? So I think you guys do have a very solid roadmap to build on what you already have. So Laxmish, taking a step back, when you work for all these corporate organizations, you have an excellent background in both technology and in business development, right? Business management. How are you using those skills in a startup ecosystem?
Yes, I do have like engineering and business management background, both from education and work experience point of view. I think it's coming in very handy because when you run a startup, as I say, you're like chief of or chief everything officer, right? So, which means, you cannot say I will outsource everything or delegate everything, and you should be ready to do everything from your product strategy to implementation to go to market, business development, customer success, finance, and all those things. Obviously you cannot do everything yourself forever. We have started outsourcing some segments, delegating some of the things. We have a team, all that is there, but having a clear understanding of all aspects of your business, that really helps you run things effectively and smoothly, I believe. So I am pretty sure that's coming in handy. We may not realize it, but I think it does help, because at least you should be able to know when something is not going right. Maybe you have outsourced everything for your bookkeeping and all of that, right? Payable, receivables, and all of that. But at least if you have an idea about all these concepts, when something is not looking right, you can double click, you can ask them to look or whatever. So I think that broader knowledge certainly helps.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Let's talk to our viewers about some of the challenges that you encountered as you were building the product, talking to the market, finding the right product market fit.
Well, like I said, one of the things that I think one of the most difficult things was defining the offerings and the target market segments, right? When you have in a way, it's a horizontal offering when you say education platform, and then the content that goes on top of that is kind of, in education, it's still horizontal, you would say, but in many cases, when you focus on job-oriented skill development programs, it kind of, becomes vertical in flavor, or when you talk to a particular customer, right, like the military versus this versus that, right? So that defining that target market segment and your messaging becomes very challenging, because as they say, right, if you can say that I have everything you want, so like messaging for everybody is messaging for nobody, right? So that becomes very difficult. And when you have your own product that you have kind of lived like every minute of the day for years, and you don't feel like letting go of any aspects of it, you like everything, it's difficult to say no to certain aspects. I think that is the hardest part. We all have ideas. There are too many shiny objects and you want to do everything. So learning to say no to some of these things is very difficult. And of course, securing sustainable funding is another hard part. And we had to strike some balances on our approaches, some sort of phased approach to see that what is revenue generating, and because you cannot be a development company forever, right? You have to start selling at some point. So that balance also becomes a key challenge as well. And then I think another thing I would say is, when you are a startup, that brand recognition, how do you build that, right? Because you are nobody coming from scratch. And I think the way we address that is, we kind of participated in some of these competitions, and we won some awards. A couple of weeks ago, we won this 2024 Defense Innovation Award. And then last year, we won some award from the Navy. And the year before, it was, we got like 3 projects from the Department of Energy. So all these things, some of them are, from where we are, they are pretty big wins. But in general, we should learn to kind of celebrate and recognize all these little things. And that's how we kind of build some collaterals and try to address some of these brand recognition kind of challenges, I would say.
Yeah, those are great insights, Laxmish. For anybody who is listening in, founders or wannabe founders, I think those are great insights for somebody to think about. So thank you for educating our viewers. Laxmish, next, talk to our viewers about some of the AI that you're using in the content that you have today, in the product that you have today, and some of the exciting projects that you have in mind, which are like here and now kind of projects.
So when you say AI, we have, kind of consciously taken a route where obviously we have been developing skill development programs in AI. And then we also leverage AI on our learning platform. So in terms of skill development, we have, the introductory level programs and practitioner level programs. And how do we leverage AI in the learning platform? So basically, there are, I would say, 3 or 4 aspects in terms of leveraging AI for automation of administrative tasks. That is the first and foremost, meaning there are a lot of repetitive tasks like grading or, some of the Q&A that students can have. And that kind of leads into this other aspect of conversational interface, right? And we are trying to, it's not just about the conversational interface, which sounds very trivial, but if you go a little deeper, the application can be very broad in terms of how do you leverage it for those with special needs. It's one of those assistive technologies as well, right? And then in the future, we are hoping to use this for some sort of real-time translation. How can you use it for different languages? And another thing I would say is, how do you kind of make it more and more data-driven, in terms of personalization, in terms of adaptive learning? It's a very big topic. So we have taken some phased approach for that, because what is adaptive learning? That's like the different levels of definitions here. So we are trying to bring in AI to help us in that process as well.
Okay, yeah, that's great, Laxmish. Let's talk about a little bit about the future, right? So AI obviously has an impact in everything that we are doing, right? In your sector, EdTech, how do you see the role of AI impact EdTech in the next, let's say, 3, 4, 5, 10 years?
Well, I mean, I think what we have done so far and what's our roadmap, certainly aligns with that. We have that in mind. So, like I was saying, one of the big focus areas for EdTech is adaptive learning, right? Because every person is unique and they want to learn in a specific way, whether it's the modality, multimodal approach that one could take, or whether it's the level of content, or it could be the sequence of things how you want to learn. Whether I want to learn about concept first, and then I want to get into some examples, and then I want to get deeper. Some people want to do it the other way. They don't want to learn about concepts. They want to learn about case study based approaches, and then along the way they learn the concepts. And so it's a big area, right? So I think it's going to take a while for AI or anybody to, like I said, you can go to different levels. When you say personalize on what? I mean, are you going to personalize based on my preferences, or are you going to track all the data and personalize based on my performance, which may be explicit in a thing like my grade and scores. It may not be that explicit in terms of how I want to learn and what areas need some intervention and things like that. So it's a very complex landscape. Defining that and bringing in some impact, meaning using AI to actually show some impact on somebody's ability to learn, right? Or somebody's learning experience, or some sort of learning engagement. There are so many different aspects that AI could impact, when it comes to personalized learning. And traditionally, personalization and scale were kind of opposite, right? So now with AI, you can have both. You can personalize at scale. Everybody can have a personal mentor. You don't need to depend on human mentors anymore when we reach that level. But I think that's going to take some time, as you can imagine. And accessibility is another big thing, which is not a like one sentence problem where you say you do these things and you have solved it, right? It's another, just like personalization, accessibility at different levels, like I was saying, it could be language translation, or it could be assistive technologies. There are so many, unfortunately, different situations that people have, whether it's motor skills, whether it's learning disabilities, or whatever it is. So it has to be based on some data-driven insight for a particular learner based on their physical abilities, mental abilities, preferences, performance, all those things, right? So the educators can have some sort of early intervention, and they can adopt teaching strategies that are aligned with those data points and predictions. So I think there are a lot of exciting possibilities. I don't think we'll be kind of done in a year or two or anything like that. It's a journey, and I hope that leveraging AI and other technologies, we will be kind of able to solve all these challenges more and more effectively going forward.
Yeah, no, Laxmish, you are right. I mean, this is such an evolving phase, right? Especially in EdTech, there are so many advancements that are happening. People are finding new modalities of learning. For example, I see many kids who love learning from videos. The other kids who just like to read and learn, right? So text-based.
Yeah.
It's all very different. So, Laxmish, you are an angel investor. How are you seeing the startup ecosystem evolve in this space?
Yeah, I mean, my investments are in personal capacity, but as an entrepreneur in EdTech, right? In general, everybody's talking about leveraging AI for all these things that we talked about, right? See, end of the day, the way I look at things is whatever you do, you have to solve some real world problems, right? Some pain points, and then how do you empower your customer, in this case, a learner or an educator, or society at large, right? Or a community at large. So specific to EdTech, I think skill-based learning, how do you prepare people for career readiness, right? There are platforms that are coming up focused on these aspects, right? Focusing on skills and career readiness. And then a broader credentials point of view, people are talking about stackable micro credentials and micro learning, as opposed to large programs and degrees, and people have started accepting your skill-based credentials as opposed to university-based kind of education that prepares you, gives you that foundational skills rather than job-specific, task-specific skills, right? So and then gamification, interactivity, that's another area where it's a journey, right? Because one is you want to make sure that people who want to learn stay engaged throughout the when it comes to e-learning. The last stat I remember is like 5% of the people complete what they started, so that gives you the gravity of the learning engagement challenge. So it's going to take a while. I mean, it can never be perfected, I guess, but it's going to be a journey as well. Community-based collaborative learning is another thing, because people are, again, from learning engagement and effectiveness point of view as well. When students learn collaboratively, it's more sticky and more effective as well. So, and one of the things that we are focused on, close to our heart, is after all this, how do you make it more equitable? How do you make it more affordable? And that kind of aligns with our focus on accessibility and access, right? Providing access to those who would otherwise be left out, and accessibility more from for those who need special attention, different ways of learning, for those with special needs. So I think it's a kind of a broad spread as to what people are focusing on along the lines of personalization, gamification, community-based learning, skill-based learning, or bringing in access and accessibility into the learning landscape.
Yeah, no, wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about the future of work. All right, because all the skills that you are training people for, right, on the Eizen platform or even otherwise, it's all converges into the workforce eventually at some point of time. So, in your opinion and your vision of things, how does the future of work look like, and how is Eizen enabling students or people who are coming in, or learners, let's say, not just students but learners, to contribute effectively to the future of workforce?
Yeah, I think I mean the biggest debate right now is obviously AI taking away jobs, and how is it going to change the job market and things like that, right? So obviously some of those repetitive and routine tasks are going to be automated. Like somebody said, AI will not take your jobs away, but those who know AI will take your jobs away, right? So the other way to look at it is, while some of these things get automated, you can take a positive perspective and then look at this as freeing humans up for more creative and strategic tasks, right? So I think naturally, as you kind of fight these dynamics, core human skills, like critical thinking, problem solving, and emotional intelligence, these things become more important for people to learn. Because why do you want to fight the trend? You just want to kind of go with it and then see how can you use it for kind of greater good kind of a thing, right? So in general, because of the fast evolution of all these technologies and trends, lifelong learning becomes very critical as well, right? These are some of the trends that you can say that are related to future of work. And then in terms of what we are doing, we're trying to align with this in terms of teaching people the skills that will make them future ready. And then, we also kind of focus on access and accessibility, because a lot of people are left behind, right? Because the digital learning, which was supposed to kind of make learning available to more people, has in a way broadened that digital divide, you know, because those who have versus those who have not, it has kind of actually, some people call it like a digital canyon now, right? Instead of digital divide. Um, and then um, aligned with what I said around the soft skills, right? So as technology becomes more and more kind of standardized or available as a service, or AI can write the code for you, kind of a situation, right? Then how do you prepare people for this new world, right? So in fact, the project that we are doing with the Navy, that is focused on preparing learners for novel situations in cybersecurity, because obviously cybersecurity is huge as it is, the knowledge base, the body of knowledge, and it's evolving as well, right? It's not like you can be done with learning all the tricks and now you can defend your organization or nation or critical infrastructure. It doesn't happen that way. The attackers are going to leverage AI and automated attacks, and it's a constantly evolving field. So you need to prepare people who can think on their feet and who can respond to novel situations. So that's why we focus on scenario-based and case study-based teaching methodologies. And we have gamified a lot of these things, preparing scenario-based games for primarily to enhance kind of critical thinking and problem solving. Yeah.
Very interesting, Laxmish. Very interesting. Especially like the way that you're thinking about, using gamification as a method for learning, and some of the softer skills that you mentioned. Because I think humans will continue to be humans, or have to be humans, because that is our strength, right? Understanding feelings, emotions, and those softer aspects. And technology will take its own trend. So why fight the technology trend? Because if you don't do it, somebody will do it, right?
That's right. That's right. And it's technology is kind of neutral anyway, right? Like I always think of, I mean, in most cases, you even a simple thing like a knife. I mean, you can cut fruits and serve people, or you can hurt people, right? I mean, it applies to most of the technology as well, I think.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're spot on. You're spot on. So let me. There are a lot of founders or wannabe founders in this space, in the EdTech space, right? What would be your advice? Having spent significant amount of time in this space as a founder yourself, what would be your advice to people who are looking to found a company in the EdTech space?
Well, I mean, I'm also learning every day. So I don't know, but based on my experience, I can share a few things. They may not be unique, but many times, you might read a lot of things in the books, but when you actually do it, some of the things kind of resurface and, oh, I have read this before, but this is so true, kind of a thing, right? So it may not be new to people, but something that I could relate to on my day-to-day, efforts while running Eizen, right? So in that sense, I guess you need to be adaptive and resilient, because things change on a daily basis. The market demand, and the kind of insights that you gather on a day-to-day basis. Based on that, you have to pivot, your kind of strategy a little bit on a periodic basis. And like somebody said, right? I mean, your strategy is great until you go and talk to your first customer. Then everything is out of the window, right? So I think kind of detaching from like my idea or my product, and I have thought through this, and you kind of get the feeling that I know it, it should work, kind of a thing. But when you talk to customers, when you try to get a deeper understanding of the problem, how the problem solution fit is kind of relatively easy, but then the product market fit is extremely difficult in my experience, because you kind of tend to discover a lot of new things, the way people use it, the way things are integrated. Maybe it's like people like it, they know that, or they openly tell you that, oh yes, this solves my problem, but maybe they have some other thing that they need to throw out before they put your solution in. It may not be economical, it may not be practical. So those are the kind of things that we tend to overlook when we get excited about the problem solution fit, right? And then I would say that should be, we tend, for example, in these conferences, and I meet a lot of new people, and many times people say, oh, what do you do? I have an AI startup, right? So that kind of tells you that, I mean, that is great, but what problem are you solving, right? I think focusing on the impact, and not just on the technology and innovation, that may be better focus is what I think, right? And like I mentioned earlier, there are too many shiny objects out there. As a founder, I mean, everybody has great ideas, and we all get ideas. But then, I think the hardest thing is to say no to some of those, and then stay focused on execution of some of them that you think will move the needle, right? The ones that will have the largest impact. I think that is going to be the hardest part, because suddenly there'll be quantum computing, or there'll be maybe blockchain will pick up, there'll be new technology. So you don't want to go behind the intellectual high that you get from all these trends and technologies. While it's important, if they can solve some real problem for you, go for it. But otherwise, I think it's important to stay grounded on the problem and the impact.
Yeah, those are great advice. Those are great advice. I have seen many people, just get blown away by technology trends and then losing path, right? But to your point, it's very important to stay focused. New technologies will come in, but it's important to take the positives out of it. Is it really solving a real world problem, like the way you articulated, right? And then use it, of course, all right, but
Yeah.
not lose path.
Yeah.
So there are so many innovations that are happening, and literally every day there is something or the other that's going on, right? How do you stay updated with everything that's going on in the technology advancements perspective?
I mean, nothing unusual, I think, like what most of the people would do, like follow the industry and industry leaders, publications, and participating in conferences and webinars, and engage with some professional networks on LinkedIn, things like that. Subscribe to some newsletters that you think are relevant to what you do, what you want to do, and things. And finally, sometimes you will have to experiment with some of these things yourselves, and especially, these days, there are so many new things, new AI products, for example. Every day I hear about something new, and we do experiment with some of them that we think are relevant. Because, see, there is no point in reinventing everything. If there is something that you can use, then that's really great for you to focus on what you can do the best, right? So I think some experimentation is needed in addition to kind of, newsletters and industry and seminars and all that. I think that's what most of the people would do. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful, Laxmish. Laxmish, so that brings us toward the next segment of our show, which is the rapid fire round.
Sure.
All right. So here's my first question to you in the rapid fire round. What is the one AI tool that you cannot live without?
Today I use ChatGPT a lot. There may be many products that we use that leverage AI without even us realizing. Maybe there is something better. I don't know, but ChatGPT is one that comes to my mind. Yeah.
Okay. The next one, the favorite book on technology or entrepreneurship?
I don't read as much as I should or I want, but some of the books that I really liked, Startup Owner's Manual by Steve Blank, and then 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. Those are the two books I would say.
Yeah, those are great books. I certainly recommend people who are listening in to read those books. All right, my third one to you. What is the most overrated tech trend right now?
Um, I think I would say AI. See, while it's making real impact and it has created a lot of difference, and it has shown a lot of potential, um, organizations have a lot of unrealistic expectations from AI. I think in that sense, you could say it is a hype, though it is kind of democratized and everything as far as the applications go. The reality of implementing AI is it's more complex than what people think, right? So there is still a lot of hype with some real impact, of course, right? We are seeing the difference on the ground, but I think still there is a lot of hype.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, these things are evolving. It's up to us to not really try to catch the hype, uh, but
Yeah,
just understand what we're getting into.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. The next one for you is, what is the one skill that every learner should learn in the next 5 years?
Um, I mean, you hear a lot of people say AI again, right? The best time to learn AI was 5 years ago, and second best time is now, right? So but I would still say, while that's important, critical thinking, problem solving, and focusing more on the core soft skills that will help you leverage AI or anything else, and still stay focused on the problem and the solution and the impact, right? Because the why part, how you can figure out, so
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. And then the last one, if you were not in tech, what career would you choose?
I would probably would have loved to be a musician, professional musician, so or a chess player. So I love both of them equally. Any day I could take either one of them up. Yeah,
All right. So, like, or maybe another show we should have you play either a musical instrument or sing a song. That will be another show.
absolutely. Yeah.
All right. No, thank you, Lakmish. I really appreciate your time. This was brings us to the end of our show. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to our viewers.
Thank you so much, Arun. Thanks for having me on your show again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you take care.